All right, welcome to this mastermind and Q&A for everybody to ask about what I do to still kick my leg up high into the sky at 70. And yes, I turned 70 last year in August. And of course, there's this filter in the camera that I can't do anything about. So that's why I look much smoother than I actually am. But, those are all the things. But I feel great in my body. I don't have any aches. I don't have any pains. I don't take any pills. I don't have any ills. So those are the things that I want you to ask me about. How do I do it and how do I teach it? And how can you maybe do it by yourself? Or maybe you want to join a course that takes you through it so that you really don't miss out on actually making the changes that are necessary to get there. And I'll tell you a little bit more about why. So just a short intro about me. I'm, of course, known as Professor Johanna Sophia, which I am. I'm a professor and I'm a lot of other things. So I wanted to tell you just a quick rundown of my life, which is very unusual, I have to say, very unusual. Many times I skipped what other people go through in education because I could. And, not everybody can. And I'm not recommending that anybody should, but what stayed constant is this pursuit of wanting to help humanity understand better, be more authentic, love more. I had the incredible fortune of being born to pacifist parents. My father's proudest achievement in his younger years was that he got through the Second World War without ever having to carry a gun, let alone fire a gun as a first aid person. And he was only 16 when they caught him in the mountains of the Alps, where he was hiding because he really did not want to have to be a soldier. So that's some of my background. My parents both were Waldorf teachers, so that's based on the philosophy of Rudolf Steiner. And his approach was very much that when we come into our own and are our own being, we don't really need aggression or revenge or this need for oppression of others, right? This need for being on top of others. So that is my baseline, just so you know. So it's this humanitarianism, pacifism, but also the dire desire to help others come into your own as well. I love it when others come into their own. So I had a career, of course, at one point after working with special needs children and adults in a Camp Hill setting. I was only 17, but was respected as an adult at the time. And after that, I decided I wanted to go and mix and mingle with the masses, I called it. So I wanted to go into entertainment. I finished, of course, my high school at the time. I didn't even, actually, I went straight into teacher training with Waldorf education, but then wanted to go into entertainment and did. So I had a 8-year career in singing and acting and getting into movies and TV specials, etc. In fact, I just got a copy. Oh my God, I should show you. I didn't plan this, of the movie that one of the movies that I'm in. And this thing here is actually me. Anyway, so then I met an African gentleman and he became my first husband, and I moved to Zimbabwe. And that's where I learned how the world is run. I learned about the colonialism and how the entire world was ruled by Europeans in so many ways and exploited by Europeans. And that still holds true today. And we have this belief system that we think just because we're ones with the guns, because most of the rest of the world did not have gunpowder and gunpower, right? And the will to kill and breaking treaties and all of those things. The Europeans have always been very good at that, starting with the Romans. So I learned those things and the dynamics of warfare and patriarchy and dominance and exploitation. And I'm feeling very strongly about, ever since, that I want to do something to teach others how to be, and again, also how to teach other generations and other people around them to be more in the space of building something new rather than just complaining about what's bad in the world, right? First, of course, you have to understand, and then you have to build something new. And that also goes to your own, your own body. You, of course, have to build your own body into something stronger than what you are given in a way by the lifestyle that we've all been sold, right? And we've been sold this lifestyle because of the same powers that have sold us colonialism, and that's the way to go, right? We've been sold to eat a lot of white sugar, white rice, white flour, a lot of animal flesh that our bodies are not really made to digest. And all these things have impacted the world over our state of being and our health. But there are enough pockets of people who have different lifestyles still even today, and show us that there is a healthier way of living, or confirm that there is a healthier way of living. And so that I'm also very interested in. I then, from Zimbabwe, my first husband got a scholarship to go to Columbia University and to study film, because he was already in broadcasting in Zimbabwe. And of course, for me, it was natural after my acting career. And in Zimbabwe, I had my own studio. I taught acting, and I'd been to France to study dance for a year as well, while also acting in movies. So there's a lot of stuff in my life that exposed me to a lot of things that made it so that I could understand that even with a very weak body, being born with a heart murmur, being born with very low blood pressure, which sounds good for all these people who have very high blood pressure, but if it's too low, you get very tired, right? And you're probably iron deficient and all these kinds of issues that I had as a young woman. And you then are particularly vulnerable to things that cause infection, such as dairy consumption, right? I was always having ear infections and nose, throat, bronchitis, all these issues, because I was so susceptible. And my parents didn't know any better. They thought dairy was the good part of animal products, right? So they thought that was what would make us strong. Yeah, so I then also applied to Columbia University. There's a lot of other stuff in between. And unfortunately, my marriage didn't last. And I went to Columbia University and did 3 degrees in writing, directing, and producing film. And that's where my professorship comes from. I then taught at Columbia and at the School of Visual Arts and at Yale University and anyway, a bunch of other colleges, always as an adjunct professor, because I did not want to be tied down. I loved traveling, still do, between Europe and the Americas, and also Africa again and again. So yeah, became a filmmaker, made a couple of small films that won some awards, but then I really, really wanted to have a family, and filmmaking is not a secure income, right? You all know that, unless you are big and kind of sell out in quotation marks to Hollywood, which was not my thing, right? I just didn't, it just never appealed to me. But it's not like I didn't also learn about the corporate world. I got myself a very well-paid job as a translator for an international law firm. And because I can translate 5 languages, so that worked very well. And that's where I learned how the weapons industry and especially the pharmaceutical industry works in our world. Yep, lots of patents, lots of tests and, toxicity levels of all these wonderful drugs that are so making them so much money. So all of that is there for kind of in my little suitcase of knowledge, right? About how the world is run and how our health is run by these large pharmaceutical companies that will do anything to make a buck, right? And who's the best customer? The healthy person. I'm not a good customer for them. Sorry. So I understand all of those mechanisms that prey upon us, and therefore was inclined even more to create other avenues and help other people see how these other avenues can get you healthy even after being diagnosed with all sorts of things, and retain your health, which is really the easy part once you allow somebody to establish an all-over lifestyle for yourselves. And many of my clients have been able to do that. And it doesn't always look like my lifestyle, but it can look very interesting in different ways so that we can establish a lifestyle that keeps us the way we want to feel, the way we want to be strong, the way we also want to be emotionally and mentally in a good place. And then I created, of course, I studied also with many other people. I studied how to run an online coaching business. And for those of you who want to become active in that field, I just this morning spoke to one of my former clients in a Happy Body course who has developed her own vegan high raw keto diet. So you know that keto works with very low sugars, but good fats and good so in her diet, definitely no animal fats, but good fats and good carbs that are lots of greens. And so anyway, she has developed this whole system for herself that makes her sound happy and glorious, and her clients as well. So I was hoping she could be here to tell you about her way of manifesting her own business, but she told me she has to look after her very old and ailing mother, so who is not quite willing to change too much of her lifestyle. And that's something, of course, that we also have to contend with, right? Everybody has their own threshold of how far they will go in terms of their adjustments, and we have to see how well or not so well they can mentally and emotionally and physically withstand the changes, let's put it that way. We then we're really creatures also of habit. Once we establish a habit, it becomes so much easier to maintain a healthy lifestyle. All right, then I still wanted, if you want, I'll tell you some success stories just to give you examples. Such a wide range of people. I started working with teenagers when my kids were still young teenagers, and teenagers, their parents would send them to live with me for 3 months at a time, and live with me and my family, and we would, they would have to adjust to our lifestyle, and they would do special things to, and work with me to give them the desire to live, which is often a problem with, let's say, 11 to 16-year-olds when they go through the physical changes and the emotional changes of having become adults. And anyway, so I started working with teenagers, and some of them I'm still in touch with, who are now mothers and fathers and create their lifestyles for their families. And then, worked with professors who are my clients and with everybody in between, some of whom created their own businesses, some of whom just wanted to get super healthy. For example, I'm thinking of as one of those, what's the word? He's a Mensa member and a super brilliant person. And but he's also very dark-skinned and I'm saying, but because often that creates a real conflict, especially in our Western world, where skin tone still ensues a lot of discrimination. And so he had worked with IBM as a very young man, and then was ousted at 9/11 because he came from a Muslim background. And, and then he became an artist and a filmmaker, and he got to a point where he was so sick and kind of self-destructive that he could not sleep at all anymore. He slept like in 20-minute segments if he could at all, and was highly diabetic and kidney failure. It's all these issues that come together when, and severely overweight. So he came to live in my house. I actually had to go pick him up because he couldn't travel by himself anymore. And within 4 days, he walked down the block with me. And within 10 days, he walked a mile, slept 4 hours at a time, and a good night. So that's how incredibly powerful a full lifestyle change. And I work with smoothies more than juices, but a smoothie cleanse that we all try to go through in the beginning of class. That's how well that works. And he's now back in all kinds of businesses and had a huge exhibition of his art in New York City not so long ago, is making movies, and yeah, just is in full swing, has lost 85 pounds. And those are the stories, that work. And of course, after his time intensively at my house, we kept private coaching him through the changes thereafter. And yes, that's a little more expensive, but it's, he will tell you, I saved his life. So that's how much it can be. And it can also be just somebody who already is like another client of mine, Michael, who had already was in the real estate industry and wanted to start, however, something that had to do with nature. So after exploring, creating a camp for children, because those were good memories of his, he decided on a glamping business because he had a piece of land. So he then, learned and explored what that entails, went to a couple of glamping sites, and now he has his own glamping business. So that's just to show you a wide range of things that can happen. Another person completed her novel, her book in my class. And so there's all these possibilities. And because I have very small classes, that's why that can work with very individual issues. So I would love to get the first questions, because probably some of the things that I was going to tell you next about what's involved in really getting yourself into the new system, even if you don't take the class, even if you do it by yourself, is probably what your questions are. Anybody want to start? Did you take note of the question that you want to ask? Yes.
I was wondering, when the smoothie cleanse happens. Do you have dates for it yet? Or can you give us an idea of when it might be?
Yeah, the class does the smoothie cleanse a week into the class. So the first week is more about we all establish our goals. We have our strategy calls that are one-on-one calls. Everybody gets their one-on-one call so that we can then introduce to each other what we want to pursue. Is another Machu. Okay, and then the second or the third week, it depends a little bit on how many people how much time we need for everybody to present their goals, right? And then the smoothie cleanse is a 5 to 7 day cleanse period of time, where we do all smoothies the first 3 days, smoothies plus a salad the next 2 days, but salad, of course, all just raw greens, and there can be some fruit in there too. And then some people want to extend it to 7 days, but that's optional. So that's how we start out, because my understanding is that we need to start with a strong physical body, right? Into anything. So I want us to get at least it's also in my evolve system, it's the second step, verify the science, i.e., we learn about how the biology actually operates, which our chemical industry does not tell us how biology really works, how we need to feed our cell tissue so that it can renew itself, etc. So we research about that and we demonstrate by experiencing how it works. We experience the physical, mental, emotional changes that happen when you allow yourself to cleanse like that. It's kind of, it's the entry into, oh, it's somebody's phone, I guess. Maybe even mine. I thought I had turned it all the way off. Could be that it's vibrating. Yeah, it is. Sorry about that. So yeah, Machu, do you want to show yourself? Can you hear me? Okay, never mind. If you just want to watch, that's fine too. I just, of course, I always like people to introduce themselves. So yeah, so once we have this cleansing experience, it is so much easier than get to the next stage that we slowly approach and that takes a little while to work through, and that's the turn your traumas into tools stage. Because, of course, we all have traumas from our childhood, from our life experience, maybe even from our last separation from a partner or a parent died, etc. So we all have things that sort of dull us down in a way, because yeah, maybe we feel co-responsible for what happened to somebody, or all these issues that we have. And maybe we feel we were wronged by others or by the world, and things happened to us that we had no responsibility in. So all these issues become easier to grapple with and work through after the physical cleanse. It's just we become more at ease with ourselves when our body feels better. And like I explained with Ali, this bodily feeling better is really fast. In most cases, I have rarely experienced that somebody does not quite get there. It happens that there's a lot more ongoing conflict in our inner life, right? And it could be also in our outer life. When we're under stress, under financial stress, under job stress, etc. All those things, of course, impact our well-being, our health, physically and mentally. So yeah, does that answer your question? And is it very unsatisfactory that I can't put a pin into whether it's the second or third week, Hillary?
No, that's okay. And was there another, I haven't looked at my notes in a little while. Was there another chunk of time too where we were doing something together that is useful to
But
know?
we're always doing something together.
I know there was something else. But there was a particular project, like the cleanse project. I thought there was a
Yeah,
second.
there's also after the initial, I encouraged the 21 days on raw. So you then still continue for 21 days to eat, but eat various foods and preferably the majority raw. Because that again builds more cell tissue, and you need the replenishment of nutrients, of real nutrients, to get your cell tissue replication working well. Because biology really boils down to, can our body rebuild itself after the damage that has been done, right? And I always say, look, when you cut yourself, that wound is trying its darndest to grow back together. It's never that it tries to grow further apart and get worse, right? Only if you really do a bad job, will it not heal itself. It will, the body itself wants to heal itself. It's made that way. And it's not just in human bodies, but the tree, if you cut into it, will grow back together, will have a little scar. Everything in nature wants to heal itself if at all possible. At one point, I was showing that I had cut a mango top off, and I thought, oh, this is still too green, right? And I put the top back on and left it lying there, and it grew back together. You could see the fibers hooking back into each other. So that's how much life wants to heal itself, right? And yes, of course, I butchered the mango when it was ripe anyway, because I wanted to eat it. Yeah, but of course, we all have our philosophies as to why eating plants is, of course, especially fruits, is the thing to do. And greens and fruits, and of course, nuts are the core of fruits. So they really are part of the fruit in so many ways. Yeah, so that's why the 21 days on raw is another period that we try to do as best we can. Not everybody does it. Some people feel that they're good with mostly cooked and just a little raw, but mostly because of that experience of the 5 days on smoothies and how good you feel, how you wake up in the morning and you're well rested, and it's just hard to beat that feeling with any other diet. So it kind of happens that way. And then we do other things together where everybody, for example, where everybody finds 10 experts that they would like to talk to or interview, if especially if you're building a business, or if you just want to follow them also, because I'm not the only person knowledgeable of stuff, right? I have talked to countless experts in the field of health and healing the planet and sustainability. And I didn't mention that I've had a solar company for a minute, so I learned a lot about alternative energies. And of course, they're much better energies even than solar energy that we could harness, but they're not profitable. So all these things, and depending on what we're pursuing, can be done as a group where everybody does their thing, but we're doing something similar, right? Like everybody then presents their 10 experts to the group and tells us why they've learned something from them, right? Or why they want to, if they want to build an online business, why they want to interview them. And that is then set up so that everybody can. And that creates what is called a tribe or a lead production, so that you have people who will want to work with you. Similarly to how you guys found me, right? Ed Wodinsky, for example, has followed me for a few years now, right, Ed?
Right.
Yeah, and sometimes we've talked, and then you found, I believe you found Zen, right? Meditation?
Meditation, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that has given you what you needed, right?
Right.
So that's also, I applaud that when you find your avenue to feel that you're in the right place and in the right space. So if you want, tell me each a little bit what your vision is for the next 12 months, even if you're not in the class. Yeah, go ahead, Marcia. Oh, you muted. Click the little microphone.
Right. I kind of fell into this session this morning a little bit by accident.
Mhm.
I was previously already on a Zoom, which just finished, and your information came up. I have been receiving emails, but I didn't really pursue a relationship with you. What I would first like to say is that I have caregivers come to me every day, and I am scheduled to have a visit from a caregiver in a little while. So if I suddenly disappear, that's why that is. But this, I think somehow is like a divine appointment, because I'm very interested in your life and this topic. I'm very sick at the moment with diabetes,
Yes.
and I informed my doctor that I wanted to do a detox, because I have also done some work, it's a study, and then work as a therapist in what they call an alternative method of muscle and connective tissue therapy. And so, but my doctor informed me that it would be very, very dangerous.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
I have learned also that it's not that it's their stock answer, but it's not part of their training, so they don't like to get into it. And we've worked out a sort of a compromise where I did smoothies and juices, but my blood sugars at the moment are quite high. I recently had a TIA,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
the medical people sent me back from hospital with a lot of medication. And I told the doctor I really didn't want to take it. And if I had my choice, I'd like to sack her.
Yes.
Because
Marcia, where are you sitting, and where are you calling from? Which country?
New Zealand.
You are also in New Zealand. That's too funny. Do you know each other, Celine? That is too funny. Celine is also in New Zealand.
Oh, really? Whereabouts?
Unmute yourself,
Oh.
Celine.
We can't hear you.
Hit the little microphone. That is too funny. So Marcia, I'm going to send you a movie right away, a documentary. It's called Simply Raw, Reversing Diabetes in 30 Days.
Yes.
So
I am also following Shane Sterling.
I
Do
don't
you
know
know?
Shane Sterling, but I will look. Is that a he or she?
It is a male,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a raw vegan heroes and raw vegan rising.
Mm-hmm.
And but the medical people I'm working with have reduced my. I'm sorry I'm speaking this quickly because I may have to leave you shortly.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And they have reduced my medication, which I'm pleased about, but my blood sugars are quite high, which I'm not pleased about. And I have been going a bit more raw than I was before. And so when I heard what your topic was, I'm into it because it sparked my interest.
Yes.
And so I would like to pursue this relationship with you.
Marcia, do me a favor, put your email in the chat before you have to go.
I am not very tech savvy, so I don't know where to find.
Oh, I see. You don't see where the chat is. Where did you find me? On social media or on an email?
Now I've lost you altogether because I've gone back to the Zoom screen, and I have a
Oh,
habit.
I'm there. You go to the bottom of your
Can
screen.
you say it out loud? She could just say it out loud and you can write it down.
Yes, just say your email.
Yes, it is marcia.skillbeck@gmail.com.
Is skill back or skill beck?
Skillbeck, S-K-I,
Mhm. Go ahead.
S-K-I-L, only one L,
Oh, I see.
B-E-C-K,
At
gmail.com.
got it.
And Marcy is spelt how?
M-A-R-C-I-A.
Yeah,
Okay.
I see it on the screen. I see her
Okay.
name on the screen.
Tell me
Right.
where Celine is, please.
Hello,
I'm
I'm in
going to connect you with Celine also.
Ruby Bay, Nelson, on the South Island.
Oh, yes, I have been
Yeah.
there. I'm in the North Island in Taipei.
All right, okay.
I
Yeah.
can't find you again now. I'm still in the Zoom screen.
Marcia, go to the bottom of your screen and see the little ZM for Zoom, a little like an icon, and click on that. Then the screen should open back up. On the bottom of your screen.
There I got you.
Got you.
I
Yes.
got you.
Very good. All right. Well,
Yes.
you know, we all start somewhere, sometimes mysteriously somewhere, right? And so I will get in touch with you no matter what, so that we can figure out whether we can work together. Beautiful.
Okay,
It would be
fine.
great if you also hook up with Celine and you're both in the same.
I've got your email. I'll contact you as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Lovely. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Another thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, my caregiver sometimes is a bit flexible in the timing. So I wanted to speak first to explain all
Yes.
of that.
Mhm.
And I may just disappear from your meeting, but it doesn't mean lack of interest. I may just have to go.
I got you. I got you,
Okay.
which is wonderful. All right.
Yes.
So, it's always, like I said, it's always miraculous how we meet each other. I can't even remember. Oh, I do remember how I met, because we were talking about him, Ali. I met Ali through a colleague of mine who is a screenwriting coach and had worked with Ali on a movie. So, you know, sometimes it's so mysteriously backwards how we.
Yes.
how
And
we
my
meet each
interest
other.
to you to do also is from the age of 4, I was a dancer and I enjoyed singing too.
Yes.
And I play the keyboard and the piano accordion. And so I guess in that way I was drawn to you when you explained your previous background history.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't want to take up time talking about
One
me.
more thing for you, Marcia. we have a jazz singer in this class. She already is subscribed, and I just talked to her this morning. She wants to get back into singing, and she knows all these jazz songs, and she has worked with me a little bit before. And, you know, I still teach people particular singing exercises to open up the resonances in the head so that you don't sing like, oh, but you sing like,
Right.
so, you know, and the other thing is, when you do these exercises and you eat the way I eat, you don't become an old lady voice like, oh, you know. You know, the old
Well,
ladies in the choir when they're all like, oh,
yes, yes.
your
Well,
voice
speaking of
stays.
that, I am coming up shortly to 81, and a lot of people have written me off, and I am resisting that because I told someone the other day I was planning not to die, and she said, "Well, good luck with that."
Well, you know, you can give yourself another couple of decades of beautiful existence, you know. And in
Yes,
that
so
context, I like to tell people the story that one morning when I was 66, I woke up and I said to myself, oh my God, I have 30 more years to live. What did I do in the last 30 years? It was so much.
yes,
In 30 years, I could do so much more. And that same day, I was driving and listening to a radio show, and there was this tango dancer was described as coming to the to the Argentinian World Tango Festival and getting all the press. And guess how old he was? 99.
whoa, well
The
done.
Scottish tango dancers from Scotland flew to Argentina to participate in the World Tango, whatever, competition, celebration, and all of that. So I said, who am I to say that I'm only going to be 96, right? So that's my experience with, you know, planning the future. But yeah,
Yes,
a lot can be, I mean, what matters more is how we live, I feel.
yes,
I'm almost like, well, if something happened tomorrow and I would not be here anymore, I'd be fine with it because I lived every day of my life with great
yes,
intensity, great love for life, and to the best ability. And there will be days where we feel like we fail completely. That's just par for the course. I just did a whole podcast on failure. Okay, I'm gonna let Marcia's topic go. Let's have some other questions. Ed, come on. We want a question from you. I want a question from you.
Have you found a new place to live?
Yeah, a
Oh, good.
beautiful little house that I'm buying. Mhm.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a deck with a great view across the entire valley, especially in the winter, but even in the summer, there's like what you call that, a corridor through the trees where you can see the entire valley. And I like that a lot. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. It's going to be not this huge open space, big space that I have here, but
right.
it's that beautiful deck instead. And it also has a great studio in the basement that is very large. So yeah, I'm happy to have found a place that I'm actually in the process of buying.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah, how is you're in Canada still, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Living with the repressive government here, where the price of goods here is probably 2 to 3 times the price of yours, and our dollar is like 40% less. So it makes everything very expensive here
Yeah,
because of the carbon tax
yes,
that we have that you don't have. And
yeah.
they're raising it again April the 1st, another 23%.
Whoa,
So yeah, it's people here are going bankrupt. There's the food banks have had record number of usages, you know, it's just incredible here, the economic dire situation in our country now. So
Yeah. Yeah, so you have to figure out a way to be at least on the fringes of the upper classes, right, in order to even survive.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, but if you want to talk to me more about how you could use your skills of a lifetime to be in those fringes and make extra money, I'm happy to talk to you about the possibilities that I can see. I know that it's tougher in Canada even than in the United States, but
Yeah.
it's possible here, and I know it's possible there too, because yeah, just got to get yourself to the other side of rather the provider than the recipient of all the help systems that are, however, also in place, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, if you think of the food system and the food banks, you have to be on the side where you're working with the people providing the food so that you have a secure extra income to your, I think you have a very small retirement, social security type income, right?
Yep. Yep.
You had told me how little it is, and I was very shocked.
I
So
know. Yeah. It's pitiful here. Yeah.
yeah. So, but again, you know, there are ways to get to that other side of the let's call it the game, because it is a terrible game that we're all stuck in. And
Right.
we have to know, we have to learn how to play the game so that we can survive and still do good by ourselves and to others. It's
Mhm.
possible.
Yep.
And and the other thing is, Ed, that so many people around the world are working on exactly that. Like take in Great Britain, George Galloway has just won his district election and is becoming a very important person in Parliament, right? George Galloway is, I don't know whether you follow international politics, is a man who has literally, as a young man, fought with the in South Africa for Black liberation
Mhm.
in the 80s, you know, that South Africa became free of apartheid theoretically, and then practically with Nelson. Everybody is familiar with Nelson Mandela, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. You're all familiar with Nelson Mandela?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So George Galloway was helping the Nelson Mandela people and Nelson Mandela himself to get to the point of being elected president. So, and but as a British citizen, you know, many international people did help down there. So he's got into parliament in Great Britain. That means a lot. It means that the mindset of people is shifting, you know, already because now we're at a point where not just the African continent and the Asian continent and the Latin American continent are exploited. Now we are all exploited as well, right? We're feeling it. We, the good old white folks, feel suddenly that we're being exploited as well.
Yep.
We're the last category of people, right? We considered ourselves like untouchable in a certain way. I certainly can, you know, it hit me hard when I moved to Africa and really learned how the world works.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
now we are on the receiving end of the exploitation as well. Like you said, you know, everything is taken from you so that you will fall into the category of you will own nothing, but you will be happy, supposedly, right? Because we medicate you into oblivion.
Yeah. The new World Economic Forum
Yes,
agenda. Yep.
exactly. So we have to be clever enough to find the people with whom we can collaborate on these new models, and also clever enough to be on those fringes of the wealthy so that we can have an income that allows us to collaborate with others, you know, because it will entail traveling or meeting with others and doing things together that are like the trucker convoy, you know, even though that wasn't much of a philosophical thing, it was a very important movement
Right. Yeah.
that showed the world that people who are ignored can make a show for it. And yes, they were not as successful as we all would have wanted them to be, but they got it done and got the world attention.
Yep.
So, yeah. Hillary, do you have any more questions?
I probably do, but off the top of my head, it's hard to think. I've just been kind of absorbing. I think I'll need to go back to the papers, you know, description you sent me, and then email you.
Yeah, will do. So then let me go through the different points that are important to establish also what I was just discussing with Ed, you know, that finding that middle ground where you're not betraying yourself by falling into the other side, you know. To me, when I kind of went corporate in quotation marks by working for this international law firm, and you know, our clients were Bayer and Pfizer and Lockheed Martin, and you know, those were our clients. So you can understand what kind of insights I had into the mechanisms of those worlds, right? When you are working for those people, if you are working with an understanding of I am not corruptible, but I am here to analyze how things work, right? And of course, I had to perform the best I could perform, had the best accolades in that performance, but it gave me an opportunity. And Ed, that goes for you too, because you worked in the oil industry, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, when we use that experience that we have for the understanding of the mechanics of how they do it, right? Then it becomes an asset. And then we become not the victims, but the knowledgeables. And we can then use that knowledge to educate others and or to, like I said, devise ways of doing things differently because we have a basis of understanding. So yeah, in the class, we go from what we discussed, the smoothies, the 21 days on raw, the mental, turn your traumas into tools. And that has to do with, I trust that everything we have experienced, the good, the bad, and the ugly, can be helping us to feel stronger, not only because we survived, but also because I have to adjust the lighting here. Yeah. But also because we have accumulated all that knowledge and therefore have gained understanding of why people are so sick, and or why people are feeling so down because they've had all this trauma. And then we can say, yeah, that's part of my life. I can use that, if you want, as power food. It makes me more strong rather than weakens me. Yes, Hillary.
The two components, the healing our bodies and then figuring out our life's work and setting that up. Can we determine how much of each we do? Because I'm in a mode now. I mean, I've been like workaholic in the past, and I now am dealing with the cancer, and I'm in a self-care mode now. And yes, I'm getting business ideas and setting up things and trying to finish up old projects. But I want to do the business stuff just like on the side at my own pace. I don't want to pressure myself at all because I'm kind of in the opposite mode of just being and healing. Will that fit with what we're doing?
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Originally, the class was only for that, for self-healing, self-empowering, creating a new lifestyle, and really becoming at home in that new lifestyle and in
Mhm.
that new body. And yes, your body will heal.
Great.
And it takes different amounts of time. I mean, when I describe Ali, it was a very short time because he's such a powerhouse also to overcome all these issues. For other people, it takes the whole year to get to that equilibrium of, okay, now I'm good with myself. And yeah, no, absolutely yes. The short answer is absolutely yes. That's how I originally designed the class. And then there were many people who said, okay, now I also want to do something like what you do, or I also want to, and
Right.
and then it became the certified coach avenue that you can also pursue, where you get your certificate. And I challenge you, of course, for the certificate, you have to write at the end, you write a 20-page paper, and you really know.
I have a coaching certificate. I just
I
need
know
to
you do.
organize myself and set up and get
Yes.
going.
I got you. So no, absolutely. You and your body can be the only purpose throughout.
Okay.
Yeah. And you will find that the others will be very supportive of that. Because, of course, as we age, we all have to. That's why it's still called the super happy body class, because without a super happy body, you cannot possibly do what you want to do in life effectively.
Right. Great.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there are some examples of like Stephen Hawkins, was it? Who, of course, did not have a functioning body and was just using his brain. And still, imagine if he would have allowed himself to strengthen that body first, how much more he could have done. To me, the argument always goes both ways.
Mhm.
Yeah, it certainly didn't enable him more to be sick. So yeah. Good. Marcia, you still with us, or are you frozen? You still with us? Okay. So
Sorry, I muted myself again, but yes, I am still with you. Can you not see me? My screen has gone funny.
oh, your screen has gone funny again. I can only see the top of your head like this.
Oh, yes.
You have to do this to let me know you're breathing. Okay, so the next element is that we find new connections to society by either reconnecting with family members that we've been distant to, by forgiving ourselves. And it's kind of a Ho'oponopono experience, as well as, if you're familiar with that modality, do you need, yeah. And it's also that we find groups who are going through similar things, or that we're interested in, and that we can join, whether they're online or in physical. Better is physical. I'm sure there are healthy healing from cancer groups, where you can. So it's connecting with the world is another stage, but that's after we have connected with ourselves, have found also what I left out is the fitness modality that we want to pursue. Some people will do yoga, others will do Pilates, others will just do walking, others will do some mild exercises at home. There's so many different ways, but moving is very much part of the healing process as well. So we just lost Marcia. Good. So I'm just going through the rest of the steps. And then comes the point at which we design the structure for either our lifestyle, so that there's a baseline again from which we can work, or for our business, even if it's a sidekick business, if you have a structure and a modality, like every week I'm going to do one client, one talk, or something like that, right? That's all good. And there are other ways of earning money on the side for both Ed and Hillary. It doesn't have to be coaching. There are many other modalities by which we can earn extra income, and that exposes us to another part of the world that we feel good participating in, right? It can be, I was just this morning talking to somebody also, it could be working in a soup kitchen. It could be working in anything that gives us a sense of, or people's churches, or it could be all kinds of things that gives us a sense of purpose in addition to healing ourselves, and that creates income. I mean, some people have enough of a trust fund that they can just do voluntary work. I'm not one of those lucky ones, but so, right? Neither are you two. So, so yeah, that's part of the next stage, is connecting with the world in various ways. And, again, we put out a task to everybody. Okay, who are the 3 people that you connected with, or organizations? And people bring that back to the group and tell us about what they experienced and why they connected with that group or that individual. And then lastly, I wanted to emphasize that you can create lifelong friendships in these small groups. I'm still in touch with some of my business colleagues from when I first learned online business in 2013, 14, 15. And we have, and they're in England, and actually one is in New Zealand and Australia and Canada and all over the US. So I have all these virtual friends who are, and I'm seeing the kind of businesses that they built, right? And we support each other, we tell each other that we like what they're posting and so forth. It's just a wonderful way of knowing that I'm not alone in struggling as an entrepreneur, if that's what you're pursuing, or as a human being for that matter, or with your health. So there's this connectivity that you build in these classes, and hopefully you will stay in touch with each other and meet some of the previous clients and or future clients and so forth. So that's the additional, that's the value added kind of thing to being in a class, that you feel you've created a family of sorts for yourself that you now belong to. Yeah, I've met enormously wonderful people. I've traveled to places where former clients of mine are, and have resided in their homes in Florida or in Germany, or and it's just a beautiful thing that that there is a human bond in addition to the learning process that we create. Because you see, I come from, and I want this for everybody who's also might be listening to this at a later time, I come from a philosophy where we need to overcome competition and transition to contribution as the principle that drives us in all our interactions. So I'm not competing with anybody for business or something. I'm contributing my share, and I'm acknowledging other people's contributions, and every contribution matters and is a beautiful thing. So in that sense, I also want to encourage you to find your way to contribute to the family of humanity and to all these smaller and larger forms of families who are of that mindset. It's a beautiful thing, and it's everywhere in the world. I find that is growing. That the understanding being, and I don't know whether you've come across it too, the two of you, that people are moving away from elbow competition, right? And putting other people down because they feel like they need to be on top. It still exists, but we can find lots and lots of moving toward teamwork, collaboration, mutual enhancement rather than mutual destruction, which, you know, is sad in the end when you think about it. All right, makes sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, Ed, let's set up a time for us let's set it up by email to explore a little bit what else you can do to enhance your income situation, because yes, I mean, that's just sad. You know, you've worked all your life in an industry that makes billions and billions, if not trillions. I can't hear you.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and why shouldn't you have a good life, right? After all that work.
Right. Yep.
So, yeah. All right, good. And Hillary, you're going to talk to Linda, right?
Yes,
She's actually expecting your call and
great. Thank you for that.
yeah. And I shall see you on Tuesday, unless you want to have your strategy call before, which we can also set. Yeah. And it's an interesting class because it ranges in age from, okay, he just told me he's 29, so he's not, I thought he was in his younger 20s, but you know, to almost 80, or like if of course, if Marcia joins the class, we're looking at 80. She
How
looks
many
great for
people do you
80.
have so far?
Hmm?
How many people are in the class so far?
It looks like 7, could be less, could be because not everybody has put their money where their mouth is.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
always the thing. And I know that for Ed, that's also a big thing, but maybe we can find a solution there too. All right. Then with this, I shall close out our mastermind and hope that you all learn some things, have been triggered to think about your own life and what matters in your own life, and have, yeah, if you want to connect with me, you know how to connect with me. Just if you don't have my email address, it's johanna@johanna'srawfoods.com. Just Google Prof. Johanna Sophia or Professor Johanna Sophia, and you will find my websites and my contact info. And this is for all the people who see this at a later time on my online channel on YouTube, where this is going to go. It's easy to find me by Googling not Johanna Sophia. That will bring up all kinds of other people. Professor Johanna Sophia. So there, I'm still a rarity among the professors with the last name Sophia, or with the online name, you know. But it is my real name. So good. I look forward to seeing you wherever I see you next, or hear from you, or read from you. And I'm saying goodbye. Thank you for being here. Ciao for
Thank
now.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Bye.